right, okay. Matt Clark calling to order the April 27th, 6:30 PM meeting of the Willington Economic Development Commission. We wanted to start with public participation. We have some folks, no one in the room here. We have some folks online. Would anybody like to make a few comments before we start? No. Joan, are you there? If you're trying to get set up, just let us chime in and let us know when you're available. Okay, thank you, Joan.
Okay, gotta unmute, etc. Okay, I am here. It's just dragged myself in from the garden. So
thank you, appreciate it. Any other public participation? No, it doesn't look like it. Commission business, economic development plan, strategic plan, ongoing implementation. The only item I have to talk about is the survey, the business survey questions that you had sent along. I have those right here, but I can hand them to you.
Yeah, but if you can just give me a little note, I looked at when you sent over the email.
Yeah.
For reason through, I just rushed it.
And those are just examples. So, we can put together something that if you want to go forward with something like that, we can work on a draft.
Yeah. Actually, I don't have, I had some comments and suggestions on this, but they're not here. But I thought it was okay to start. I think the taxes was missing from it. So I would add taxes, influence to tax rates.
Okay.
And then also, any kind of awareness of Economic Development Commission, Economic Development Commission planning, who they would reach out to in terms of assistance from business from government. And lastly, an open-ended, what do they think about this, economics or business environment in Willington. Those are just some of the ideas that I had off the top of my head when I read it a couple of days ago.
Okay.
Cheryl and Joan, did you have any thoughts or considerations having to do with the business survey?
Nothing.
Yes. Go ahead, Cheryl. She's mute. Okay, she lost her muting. Okay, my question was, in my infinite wisdom, I cleaned off my emails. I think all the emails from the last 3 weeks are gone. I don't know what I did wrong. So if this was sent out to us, the questions were sent out, then I'm going to have to ask that it be resent. Okay. I'm having a little bit of issue with that. So I would like to see what the questions are, what kinds of things we're looking for with the businesses. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Okay. And
from a business standpoint, it wasn't intrusive. It was kind of just very general. But I think it's encompassing enough to get a good amount of feedback of what's here, what's possible, what their likelihood of expansion, kind of market trends and things of that nature. It was kind of nice general roundabout, I thought.
Right. Looking for the way I looked at it, I wanted to have the suggestions I made was actually for actionable data. So I'm interested in understanding how we can take action on survey results. That's why I made the three suggestions I had. But I'll forward those along as well.
Yeah.
I apologize. I have my economic development folder and my comments are at home on the desk. So
no worries.
But those three should be at least somewhat useful. And so I think I don't have anything else for economic development strategic plan ongoing implementation. Cheryl and Joan, do you have anything? No?
I'm good.
Okay. Next item.
now. Okay, I'm okay with it, Matt.
Good.
Pass.
Next item would be joint board commission meeting. This is in reference to reaching out to the board of selectmen and for a joint meeting having to do with tax stabilization policy in Willington, or ordinance in Willington. Proposed ordinance that we had approved or moved forward last year failed the town meeting before the election. Mike McCoo has indicated he's interested in understanding how we might be able to move forward and maybe possibly revisit that issue. That would be an item for the board of selectmen to act on as recommended by the Economic Development Commission. He and I have been in contact via telephone and email, and this item will be on the board of selectmen agenda for I have 4 4s. That's not 4 4s. It's this coming Monday.
5-4.
5
May 4th.
And so when I originally reached out to Mike after we discussed this a couple of meetings ago, I posed it as inviting them to participate in a discussion about a couple of different things, including tax stabilization with the PZC. And so we had originally tried to target a May date for PZC, and it just didn't work because of the referendum and members of the PZC weren't available. So that date is what we're hoping to have for June 16th.
So let's try and be clear here. So the meeting on May 4th will be for the board of selectmen and the Economic Development Commission, me, and anyone else who wants to attend to discuss moving forward with planning and zoning, board of finance, board of selectmen, some kind of an open meeting to answer questions from the public and see whether or not we're going to be able to move forward with something that makes sense for Willington.
We should clarify with Mike. I thought that Mike was going to just introduce the idea that this was going to be coming back around to the Board of Selectmen on 5-4. We didn't talk in any great detail, but my initial reaction was not that there was going to be a dialogue or any type of public session, just at the 5-4 meeting, the Board of Selectmen would be briefed on the idea that this was coming back around, because Mike was very interested in having the Board of Selectmen, the EDC, PZC participate together.
Yeah.
And it's obviously up to everybody else, but I don't know that there would be enough to have that discussion twice.
Yeah, it's just simply, does the board of selectmen want to move forward? Do you have any questions for the Economic Development Commission before you consider this? Yes. Oh, what are they? Oh, those 3 questions? Okay, they're answered.
And
now go away and make up your mind what you want.
And that'll give them essentially a 1-month lead time to that session with BZC. If there are questions, we can basically say, okay, thanks for your questions. We can make a note, and then we can prepare whatever we might need to address those for PZC. But I think that the PZC meeting could also talk about the SDZ amendments, because I think that's prudent and has been on both commissions' radar.
Right. My only concern would be if we would get confused, that people will be confused. If we try and tackle tax stabilization, SDZ, abatements, all at the same time, people will get confused.
Commissioners or members of the public both?
And it might, my thought was, and I think what we talked about last time was, we move forward to see if the board of selectmen was interested. I did that. See whether or not there might be some support or some interest. I did that. Now let's go discuss it with them, and then set up a joint meeting after that. So let's see what they say about SD, including SDZ as well. So I know I brought that up to Walter, and Walt was very interested. So, I sent it over to them. So I'm not quite sure what we should actually do. So
I think,
let's see what happens on Monday night.
if we can get people in the room, I would like to try to make most efficient use of that. It's not often we have 3 boards represented at the same meeting. And so to try to split it up, I think that there's a way to prepare the agenda to clarify the topic of discussion and reference the items, and we can see where it goes, but I think it'd be hard to have that same type of cohesive discussion and get everybody together in July or August. But I guess, yeah, let's first see what Board of Selectmen.
Well, maybe you're right. I mean, Mike was very interested in having a broad discussion and not narrow at all. And I was very interested in having a very narrow discussion. So we'll see what happens on Monday. How we'll move forward. So any input on what, can any of you folks make it on?
Yeah, what time's was it
I
7
think it's
o'clock?
6:30, isn't it?
They start at 6:30.
6:30 or select.
I don't see why I couldn't make it.
John?
Yeah, I have a feeling that there's going to be some negative people in town particularly with the stabilization, the tax stabilization, or whatever we want to call it. And so I think that the way it's presented and the amount of time given to it is going to be pretty important, that we answer all the questions 4 times around probably. And but it's very important. And then this is kind of in a way a different category from everything else in one way. So make sure that's complete before we go on to anything else.
Got it. Yeah, we'll see what Mike wants to do. So I think everyone here attended I don't know if Cheryl did, but attended the meeting where it was discussed. I mean, Mike did. I know Ralph did. Andy presented in favor. So we're all familiar.
Yeah.
So at this point, we just want to decide, do we want to move forward with a larger presentation to the public?
Okay.
And do we want to, and what should that be? How should it be? Town hall, school building, advertising? How should we do it? And then after that, I think would be,
there's so many issues right now in town. It's a little confusing. It really is. Do you wait? Well, we got the school building and we also have elections coming up, and things are going to distract people from anything that we're doing here. That's a problem.
Understand.
So.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to move forward off the referendum quickly. I waited as long as, we haven't done anything. I waited. So hopefully we'll be able to vote. Yeah, but to your point, Joan, I'll do the 2-paragraph, introduction.
Just something that, now, does the stabilization, does that have to be voted on? Does that have to go to a referendum? Okay, I didn't know that. Let me write that down. Okay.
It goes to town meeting, right?
Yeah, I think the first one.
Yeah, town meeting, probably not referendum.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
So the other thing that we had kind of talked about that I think is worth the more broad discussion, and maybe I have mentioned this to Mike, and maybe this is where he was going with sort of having a broad discussion, is the idea of seeing if there could be support for not only stabilization, but abatement. There's the concern that we always have, and people, whether you wait a month or wait a year, or wait this or that, is that the longer we wait, the less chance that we have these things in place if somebody comes in and asks. And, there have been different people that have asked that question over the last let's say since it was voted on or since it had failed. And, my response has been that the EDC had been considering it. The idea was that was going to be brought back. And so I think I don't want to say there's an urgency, but we do want to try to have, I think, a more broad discussion about not having a conflict between strategic amendments to the regulations and then how the town can help land some of those projects if they are deemed to make sense. And some of that's going to just involve people requesting abatements. And so I think having all those groups in the room will make a productive conversation out of whether or not that's something that's worth considering, and how to do that in such a way that it's not sort of an all or nothing stabilization and abatement fails, or can we consider it sort of in two parts? But there's somebody who has talked very high level about a project with an existing facility in town. So this is not some new mega warehouse, but he's saying that there's a substantial investment needed in the building because it's not in good shape. May look okay from the outside, and the numbers just don't work. So it's sort of the deal falls through, the deal goes forward. And one of the things that significantly contributes to it going forward is if there's an opportunity for the town to discuss abatement. And so we're not at a point where I have anything formal, but he's highly encouraged if it is on the table. Not sure anything will work if it's not. And so I've sort of said, hey, we're working on this. And he said, oh, that's really great. I'm working with some folks to get some numbers. I'll be back. So I don't want to say, well, as it turns out, that's not actually on the table anymore. So I'd like to try to push for that when we get everybody in the room, if possible.
I hear you, and we will do that. I think we need to be extremely clear. There's two separate issues. And as a matter of fact, the meeting should be one part one.
Sure, yeah.
And then the other part, because I can tell you, I've talked to over 500 households. No one wants an abatement.
Well, I think they need to understand what that means. And what that means is the budget cycle that we're going through right now is the budget cycle we will have every year.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
I agree. Fact of the matter is, in Connecticut, we are in a low growth. We're not growing. Connecticut does not grow. It grows very small. Other parts of the country grow a lot. Connecticut, very small. So whatever development there is, there's a lot of competition between towns and cities and municipalities for placement and location. And we don't have anything to offer. But
except real estate.
Yeah.
We have something that a lot of towns don't have, which is large parcels that offer greenfield development that hasn't already been, polluted on or developed or. So that is something that we do have, but yeah, not very much else. Hi there.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. I think we have two meetings on the same Zoom.
We're not on our Zoom. We're on Tyke
Yeah,
Zoom.
we're on Tyke Zoom.
What meeting is this?
EDC.
Okay, it's showing up on our Zoom upstairs, so we can just cancel that one?
Close it.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Is
We're
that
just
Bob C? I don't know. I only
No.
see Cheryl, Joan, and then someone named Bob C.
Yeah, sorry, this is Mike McCoo. I'm the first selectman. We're just starting a school building committee meeting upstairs.
Yeah.
When we opened it, it says that this meeting is scheduled at the same time on the same link, so it must have been scheduled in error.
I don't even have access to it though. Like I don't even know what the login. But maybe this computer is somehow logged into it. I mean, I joined right from the link on the agenda and John
Okay.
is hosting.
Okay, so it shouldn't be.
So what I will do is I'm gonna leave the meeting. I'm gonna join from the browser and make sure that I'm logged out.
Oh, that might be it, that you,
I think that it may just because we're on the town's computer.
this computer might be logged into that account.
That's all I can
Okay.
think of.
All right.
Oh,
So,
it is. Yeah, Mike, because you joined as Board of Selectmen. That's what the login was.
But I
Oh, okay.
joined from the agenda. So
Yeah,
I
I don't-
it
Yeah, I
must have
thought
jumped
that
out.
All right, so I'm gonna leave the meeting for 30 seconds and be right back.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. So that'll fix
Hopefully that's it. Let's see.
Thank you.
Welcome.
No worries. If it doesn't work.
Technical issue, we're back.
Can you hear? Can you hear us? Yep, okay,
Yes, okay.
here we go. All right.
Okay. Anything else on that?
No.
No. Zoning regulation amendments, as I indicated in our previous conversation, I reached out to Walt Parcell, indicating our, EDC had discussed, re-implementing, we talked about it over several meetings, moving forward with re-implementing SDZ. He was under the, his opinion was similar to ours, which was the process worked as it should. That we adopted a process. Unfortunately, the first project that came along that utilized the process was a very large warehouse. But it worked as it should. So the developers were able to make a proposal under SDZ, and the town, the Planning and Zoning Commission handled that, and it was voted down. The same thing, if it's not appropriate for the town of Willington, that same thing will happen again. So I talked to, I think, 2 or 3 other people on planning and zoning as well. I'm sorry, I'm speaking out of turn, you're the representative. So, there was support there for looking at this and seeing whether or not we should move forward. I mean, you printed this out like 2 or 3 times for us. Thank you. I looked at it, and I couldn't actually see any areas where I would make changes. Looked. There's nothing superfluous or extra or anything like that there that I could see. But, so I think, I don't know, did Walt say anything to you, Mike, about, when they were moving forward with that, or whether a role, what role the SDZ, what role the EDC would play? Or?
I think it's just a matter of, what goes on the schedule based upon what else is on the schedule, but they've had a discussion about it, and I think that they may want to constrain some of the language pertaining to, I don't know about uses, but one of the things that they want to try to explore is how to get around the idea that with the zone change, you get a concept plan, but it's not an incredibly detailed concept plan. And so one side of that coin is you're getting more than you would if it was a zone change, but the opposite side of that coin is you're getting a 30% plan, and when you see anything, you want it to be 100%. So there's an uncomfortableness with not having all of that information, and both the public and the commission struggled with, well, what are we gonna do about this? Well, we're not at that stage. When we come back, we'll have that information. And so that breeds sort of people being uncomfortable not knowing. So we'll have to either figure out how to adjust that in a way that doesn't kill the whole intent of the process, or more clearly codify in the regulation how this goes forward so that people understand.
I understand.
So
let me ask you a question. I mean, I'm not an expert at this. And so if we were to do that, tighten it up and require more, that's a little bit counterproductive in that the old idea is to not require more. However, it's tough to make decisions on that imperfect information. This isn't a final approval. It's an approval to move forward, right?
Correct. So that's why I think the EDC is an important part of that conversation, because the PZC is the regulatory hat and they're thinking about it from that perspective. So if their conversation leads to, well, let's just eliminate the 30% concept plan and let's make it 80%. And then you say, well, how does that really get us anywhere? Because now we're telling them they essentially need to have the project baked. And so I think that's where that,
help me understand it. After the SDZ is implemented and the people and they make a presentation of a 30% plan and it's reviewed and it's approved, what's the next step after that?
A traditional application is submitted to the P&Z.
With an opportunity for denial.
Correct. Yes, with a fully engineered set of building plans and site plans.
So, okay, got it.
Yeah.
That answers my question. Thank
The
you.
biggest concern that was brought up was more the lack of potential detail on environmental. That was kind of what was really touched upon, the fact that they could submit a 30%, but all these environmental factors could not be addressed in that 30% whatsoever. And that was kind of what was really brought up as, I feel, kind of major concern that could be missing in that 30%. And how do we address, at least bring that up a little bit in that 30% to at least know there is some foresight to it, not, okay, we got to prove this now, we're going to worry about all of these potentials. So I think that's where there's this kind of gray area trying to figure out how to navigate one way or another to incorporate something.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Bob Shabbat.
Just a comment about the environmental. Mike, you're on the right track there. Basically, what we were talking about and what seemed to raise an awful lot of questions and concerns is having 30% development and having a 1.5 million square foot facility. And if it rains an inch, you got 1 million gallons of water. So I think what we were sort of talking about was basing the amount of detail, 30, 40, 50, on the square footage of the project. So that we can, if it's a big project, we'd like to have a little bit better handle on how that water, et cetera, is going to be handled by the developer. So it's not that we want to scuttle it. We just want to have a sliding scale insofar as how big the project is and what kind of response we would like to have a little bit more information.
That sounds completely reasonable, I think. That's good.
So that's all. I just want, sorry to interject like that.
Oh, no, it's very helpful. Thank you, Bob. Good. I'll see, he's articulate. Look at that. I shouldn't joke. It's a real meeting. All right. So, all right. That's anything else on zoning and SDZ? I think that's all set. Good. Business outreach. We already talked about the joint board and commission. Excuse me. We already talked about the survey a little bit.
Can I add one thing, which is I think related, even though it's not businesses? So something that I've been talking about with Mike McCoo is just trying to be a little bit more focused on getting our hands around some of this stuff. There was some legislation passed which will require the Planning and Zoning Commission to make amendments to their zoning regulations for essentially non-residential zones. And one of the things that I sort of came to is that and we've talked about here, the universe of potentially developable non-residential parcels or even just in areas in proximity to commercial zones is very small. And so what we have decided, Mike and I, we sort of agreed that we would start by reaching out to those property owners and ask if they wanted to come in and meet with him and I to just answer questions, get a feel for what's the situation there. Is it wrapped up with 25 different owners of family members and you'll never agree and nothing will happen? Or are you trying to find some rationale to see your way forward? And what got me started on this is that John Patton was before the PZC a couple of meetings ago to have his annual renewals of all of his operations. And he said that, you know, he would love to see the big piece behind FedEx developed and for him, for you know, whatever, Becker's to sort of divest themselves of the parcel. They've owned it a long time. And so that he indicated that they had actually committed money to what he referred to as a feasibility study to actually look at what could happen there and wetlands and topography and all those things. So, you know, they're at this point where they're starting to come around to this idea that something could happen on that property. And I think that we should sort of be working with him from the very beginning as they're doing that and not having them show up with an application. So we just figured it made sense to reach out to those property owners and say, hey, let's sit down and talk. Let's see where you're at. What are your struggles? What do you see as the path forward? So we will be kind of starting that probably with him, since we know he's already kicked things off. So, I guess that kind of falls under outreach. And obviously we'll report back and advise him that the EDC is, plugged in on all the things we've already been talking about.
Good. Okay, so approval of minutes. We had actually two to approve, not one. We didn't approve the previous one, so.
We didn't? Oh, I don't have them. If
You're
you,
right, yeah.
if you've read them and are wanting to approve, you can make the motion to add it because it's a regular meeting, or we can,
Do you know what the date was? I don't know.
it would have been the,
February, right? Let's get, while you're doing that, you don't vote. So, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 23rd, 2025, excuse me, 2026. I read these over, they look good. Thank you very much, John. Any questions?
I'll second it.
Seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That's March 23rd. And the next date, Mike, would be.
it would have been the special March meeting. So I don't know if those are sent out. There's a March 2nd, 2026 special meeting, because we had the snowstorm in February. Remember we had 3 snowstorms.
Yep, buried under my. And retreat regulations. Okay, so April, what was that again?
March 3rd,
March 3rd.
or sorry, March 2nd, my bad.
March 2nd. All right, first we need to add. Do we really need to do this?
You do not, there's no statutory requirement that you adopt minutes within a certain amount of time.
No, I mean,
So-
no, so I'll make a motion, we make an addition to the agenda. The motion would be to add, approval of minutes March 2nd, 2026 to the agenda.
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now it's added to the agenda. You make the motion this time.
I'll
April
make-
2nd, March 2nd.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 2nd, 2026.
And who wants the second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Joan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those new minutes are approved as well. So that completes what I had for our Economic Development Commission meeting for April 27th, 2026. I'll open for public participation. Thank you very much for your contribution, Bob. Much appreciated. Does anybody else have any comments or things they want to discuss?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about something.
Sure.
I feel like we're moving glacially at the moment, but I understand that there's a lot of things going on at the same time. The thing I would like to be able to do is push this in tourism and getting a hotel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is a mammoth problem to begin with. But before we can reach out to anybody to come in, we really need to have a brochure, whatever, about the town. And we really need to have it done professionally and have it look like we're a class act, which of course takes money, which is the next issue. I'm going to call John Tian and see if the sustainability grants that are available may help us a little bit. I've tried to get a hold of grants for the state, find out what's available. The state website is I don't know, very difficult. And so maybe if I contact Tammy, she can put us on the right track for those things. And I will contact through the the tourism board and see what we can find. But I wanted to say something before I, completely overstep. I have looked around at, properties that could fit that I see online. There are a couple ones that might possibly, but if we sit on these large parcels too long, they're not going to be available. There have been, I look out on the realtor thing, there have been 900 inquiries on this one and that kind of thing, 87 on that one. So they're being looked at. So I don't really know how we move forward with this, but I think we have to think about it and see, where we start. We can't do anything until we've got this whole abatement project done. We can't move forward with any company on that, but we can move forward to start working on a brochure to send out to companies that are interested, if that's okay.
Much okay. We have something online right now.
We did a development guide that was meant to be a sort of a data-driven sort of approach to that was, the hope was that it contained information that would cause someone who was looking for a place to go to come here versus Mansfield or Tolland or whatever, because we have more land, have less taxes. So that is on our website. It's called the Willington Development Guide, and we did that in-house. So
that was like 2022 or something.
Yeah, so we could. I mean, it might be better to start identifying the content, because we can lay it out. I mean, John and I, we have access to all the Adobe Suite stuff. We have people in our office that lay things out and can do that type of work. So if we understand the content or what we want to edit from the previous stuff, you can certainly ask for money from Board of Finance or whatever, but we can do that in-house and to, maybe save time.
John, what do you think about that?
Well, we have a marketer as our chairman of the thing. The question is that I have is what things need to be included, and can we look at this document now with an eye towards, is everything in there? We may need to add, subtract a little bit, but I think Mike's right that we can start with what's online. I'm not really savvy with the business world. Is it okay to tell a business, look online, or do we have to send them something? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
More and more. There's no printing of brochures. It's all online kind of thing. I think. I mean, Cheryl, you're involved as well. You're a business person, but I know when I worked for Schneider Electric, everything was online. We stopped doing, and that was in 2015. And at Ipsos, we didn't do that anymore. Yeah. Cheryl, you're in I think liability, travel liability insurance.
Travel insurance, that doesn't help. If you want to take a trip, I can help you out, but that's pretty much it.
Have to remember that next trip. Okay. Yep. Okay. I see what you're saying.
How about this? How about if we put it on our agenda for a continuing item? And Mike, can you print out that stuff and forward it to us? Put it in the PDF and forward it to everyone?
The development guide is on the website. I can email it as an attachment, but the link is there.
Just do the link. Just email us a link, Mike. Let's review it and be ready to discuss next meeting. I'll try and find, all of us should try and find other content from other places, Colin, other places like us. I really wouldn't be interested in reviewing something from Mystic or Hartford or something like that. That's really not appropriate for us. But
so something that I think goes to this conversation in my perspective, which is not correct or more, has always been businesses tend to care more about what information you have to communicate and less about how you communicate it.
Yes.
So whether
Okay.
you knock on their door, send them a brochure, or have a website, if it has the right information, that's what's most important. And so I think, putting together the content, but also making sure that we don't have something that says, we're working on this, or we prioritize that, but we don't have it done, right? I think, to me, that's always been more important. So the state of Connecticut through Advanced CT has something called, we may have talked about, their Certified Sites Initiative. And that is where you report sites that are essentially ready to go, that they can then plug into their database when they're trying to establish and bring people. And so they have an entire website with what their needs currently are. And then, towns can post up to 5 sites into that database for free, provided you have the information that they are looking for. So I think one of the things maybe we can talk about is looking at that criteria and trying to see how that sort of bridges with partnering with the property owners, but also what information we need to put together. Because DECD goes all around the country, they go around the world. And if you can get that information and your site is plugged in, that then goes into their review when someone comes forward and says, oh, I need X, Y, and Z. Well, they go through the filters, and if your site checks, then they start basically just they'll reach out to you and say, hey, I have a user that's this, and this, what do you think? And if it meets the zoning and whatever else, then it gets shortlisted. And so they could have, hundreds of companies looking for those things. And so there's stuff that the town has control over, and then there's stuff that the town will have to partner with the landowner on. But that might be a way to start bringing together the content of what we need to establish if we don't have it. So I can share the criteria, and I'll share the development guide link so you can see that.
And it's all review and be prepared to discuss next time.
That's good. I just was afraid we were going to end up getting ready to approach businesses, et cetera, and not have all the ducks in a row. That was my thing. And then have to take another 3 months doing that. I really do worry about these things going off market if we don't wake up. So thank you. I appreciate your letting me vent. Okay.
We'll look forward to getting that from Taichi. And any other items? Not. I'll do a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn. You second.
Second.
Okay, 9 seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Take care,
See you
bye.
later. Have a good week.